Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to meeting the city council meeting for the city of Hayden, Idaho. It is Tuesday, October 11th. And I have a roll call, please, Abby.
Council President Roeder?
Here.
Councilmember DePriest?
Here.
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
And Councilmember White? Here.
Councilmember Satterfield, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Mayor. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen of council or city staff, do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and start. Some of you may not be aware of this, but the city of Hayden conducts business 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. Some of the business that the city of Hayden does requires the approval or the consent of council before it can proceed. And that is what the next item is on our consent calendar. On the consent calendar tonight, we have 1A, approval of the Hayden Area Regional Sewer Board wastewater treatment plant facility upgrades payment requests. 1B, the approval of the 2022 Hayden Lake Marathon event permit application, loudspeaker use request, and support agreement. 1C, approval of Anderson Brothers CPA audit engagement letter for FY 2022. 1D, approval of Kootenai County Airport administrative settlement for right-of-way for the Ramsey Road extension project. 1E, approval of the RFI LLC administrative settlement for right-of-way for the Ramsey Road extension project. 1F, approval of Garden City Mayor John Evans' nomination as the Region 1 representative on the Idaho Cities Counties Risk Management Program, ICRA Board of Trustees. 1G, the ratification of our September payroll. 1H, the ratification of bills for payment. And 1I, the approval of bills for payment. Council, do you have any questions or concerns?
Yep.
Councilmember DePriest.
Thank you. Being as yesterday was a holiday and I didn't really get an opportunity to come in and speak with the staff, I hope you can humor me here or whatever on a couple, and specifically start off with item D, the administrative settlement of right-of-way Ramsey Road extension project, Kootenai County Airport. I guess, Alan, can you please just educate me as to maybe where this location is? And it says, property is needed for the construction of federal air roadway project, which will connect Ramsey Road from Wyoming Avenue to Lancaster, and is eligible for reimbursement to the city under the grant up to 92.66%. Where is the other 7.3% coming from? I guess is the question on
that. Comes from the city's impact fee dollars for.
Okay. That way. And where are we talking about? What is this? Is this around that bend as it bends up to Lancaster? Is it on Lancaster?
For the airport, for item D, there's a portion next to, or it bends next to the Humane Society, that we have a sliver of land that would be tied into that piece of airport property.
Okay.
And then there's also on the very east end of their runway, main runway, that very east end of that piece of property, there's quite a substantial piece of property that is on
the east end of the runway there, of the northern approach. Okay.
Okay, so it's parcel 10 and parcel 19 is what we're looking at there.
So there's 19's up there. Yeah,
This is 10.
I see.
Sorry.
Okay.
We could
I
put it up
can
on.
pass those. Anybody else want to?
Anyone else?
I'd like to see it.
Okay. And on the Epic Land Solutions letter, it says, and again, I'm assuming that this is all up and really whatever, but it's just the language is, the offer consisted of $136,297 for land acquisition, $17,276 for a permanent easement, 679 temporary easement, and $145,904 for damages to the remainder. I hope this is no, but what does that mean, damages?
If you look at if you have that map, what it does, it splits their property and leaves them basically a remnant that is not of great value to them. And that's part of the settlement that is in here, that what they asked for was for us to go ahead and take that remnant because it has no value to them. So that's the settlement, was to pay the balance of that value.
Purchasing that remnant in effect for 145,000-ish?
No, that was the damage. We actually purchased it for,
That's what he's asking.
I think I'm
What are the
confusing,
damages?
what's the damage?
Damage amount.
it's lost the value and use of land.
There you go.
Okay, and we are getting that land then?
Now we're getting the land as part of this deal,
Okay.
so we're paying slightly more for the rest of just buying the property.
Okay, I think I understand now, so, okay, but we now will own that land?
Yes,
That they suffered damages because we
Correct.
split the land, okay. I guess that's that with that. Now, item E, it's probably going to be a lot of the same thing here. Settlement right away for Ramsey Road Extension Project with RFI LLC. I'm going to take it, it's also on that map, parcel 12 and 13, it looks like, on that map. And the same answer is it's from impact fees is the remaining 7.34% for that. And anything else there? No. Appraisal value improvement. Okay, no. Now I think I'm going to skip to probably Sandy. And again, I'm sorry I didn't get in either today and or yesterday. I usually try and do it on Mondays. In the traffic control, we're on page 9, of 26, okay? $1,825 for traffic control flaggers, it looks like. What is that period of time? Is that one day or what is that?
Traffic control in Wyoming.
that's probably more than one day. That sounds like about a day and a half.
Wow.
I don't have that
Doing it
actual
flagging
invoice.
business.
I don't have that actual invoice
Right.
to give you a complete answer on
But
that.
if it's roughly, that's about what it costs per day-ish to have flaggers and all that?
All depends on what we're flagging.
Yeah.
So let's say that was flagging Government Way and Prairie. That might not even be a full day.
More heavily trafficked areas? Yeah.
If we're flagging Maple, that might be 3 days.
Right. Okay, thank you. Revised website hosting, 2,375.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 13 of 26. Thank you. I'm sorry. Is that an annual fee or what does that fee cover? Revised LLC website hosting,
That's for all of fiscal year 2023.
that's an annual fee. Okay, thank you. Water Wizard.
What?
Well, on page 17 of 26, is that, are they blowing out pipes? Is that what that is? Okay.
That's our irrigation
He's
system.
having a-
Okay, and so they do that, I'm assuming this time of year roughly, they go around and do all of these?
It's based on like park and location, so, and there's multiple
Okay,
water wizard ones.
yeah, I kind of thought that's what it was, but we don't have a industrial grade compressor or whatever it is that they use to blow out pipes?
We may have that now, but we don't have the staff available to do that level of effort in the frame that we have.
I appreciate you. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured was going to be the answer. So it's something that we could do, but we just don't have the staff that encompass all our other work and stuff, the time or whatever to go out and do that.
They're pretty much busy with day-to-day operations.
Right. Okay. That was my expected answer. And I believe that does it for that. Thank you.
Are there other questions amongst council?
Yes, I have some.
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember White.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start at A. All of the sewer board fees. I was wondering, are we on budget for the sewer board? It seems like there's a lot of stuff in here. I was just wondering how close we are on budget with them.
It's under- I don't know. what
It's
these
A,
are.
it's sewer board.
It's the wastewater treatment payment request.
Yeah.
It's the phase two.
It's the phase 2 work?
Yeah, it's the phase two work is if you're on A.
Okay,
I believe the last report I got for the contractor that is under contract to do the current work, they might have been, it was like 0.003% over budget. It was like nothing for a $21 million project.
okay. All right.
There's so many elements in that it would take, I would have to have a full report to give you line item by line item for all the items that go into that project. That's
Okay.
the one I'm actually familiar with
Okay,
because it was in the last meeting.
all right, thank you. And then I'm going to look at letter C, the audit. Is this going to be a full audit?
Yes,
Yes? Is this something we do every year?
yes, we're
Okay.
required to.
Okay. Okay, that's what I needed to know from that. And then I was going to look at D, again, about the extension projects. It talks about the federal aid roadway project. Can you tell me a little more about the federal aid roadway project, what that entails?
The project associated with these right-of-way purchases,
Uh-huh,
it's called the Ramsey Road Extension Project.
okay,
It connects Ramsey Road from Wyoming to Lancaster.
right, okay. So the federal aid roadway project, is that a title of something? It's in,
I think maybe where you're getting is it's funded by federal dollars significantly. So 93, 92 point something percent is our federal dollars to pay for this project. And our portion was the 7 point something percent match that we have. And so that's why we call it a federal project, because there are federal dollars being used to do the project.
all right, and what do we need to do to make sure we get the grant?
We've got the grant.
You've got the grant? Okay, are there requirements associated with it?
Yes.
Can you tell me some of them? Some of the
In
requirements?
this meeting, I would have to have the contract. If you have a specific question, I might be able to answer that.
Does it require that we do it in a certain amount of time?
Yes.
Okay. So how do we make sure that we get the reimbursement of the 92.66%? Are we on track for that? Do we-
We follow the federal guidelines for this item,
Okay,
which is purchasing right away. We follow the federal guidelines for purchasing right away from.
okay. And if
And then we
we,
submit that to the state and then reimburse.
okay. And if we're not able to purchase all of the right-of-ways, then do we lose it or do we have to get it all? It's 100% compliance,
It has to be purchased
all of it? Okay,
or
They don't generally donate it, so
we have to acquire it in some way, shape, or form or another.
purchase or condemnation.
Yes.
what was that second?
Condemnation, eminent domain proceedings.
Okay. All right. Are we looking at some eminent domain possibilities coming up with this? Are there some people?
We don't know yet.
I can't answer that at this point.
We're lining up legally the process in case we have any property owners who are unwilling to sell.
Okay. And, let's see. All right, and then to the budget, I guess Sandy, that's for you. Again, I couldn't come into today either, or yesterday, so. I was just wondering about page 3, the music lessons license. What's the license fee for the music?
That's a fee that we pay yearly in order to use licensed music on the website, on at events, any videos that we create, so that we're in compliance.
It's ASCAP you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and then on page 10, the law enforcement. Is it on 10?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, it's on the top of 10. It says 33,526.50. So I thought we were going to be increasing it this month.
The contract has not yet been signed,
Okay,
so I paid the previous contract amount.
okay,
When we sign the new contract, we will probably have an additional that we will pay that month to catch us up to where we need to be.
okay, all right.
We have a draft that adds more specifics to what we would be getting.
Okay.
I think Lana finished it Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay.
And so we'll be getting that to the county. So hopefully in the next couple of meetings, that will come here, and then we'll go to the amount according to the new contract.
Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Do we have any other comments or questions from council members?
Can I follow up?
Certainly.
With regards to the Harvard, you said we were 0.000003 or whatever it is. And I guess is inflation and what's going on economically bringing it to the point where costs are exceeding what was the expected budgeting, or, you know what I'm saying?
I would say we are not anywhere near exceeding the expected budgeting, because that is kind of almost an unheard of value in a project of that size.
That's, I understand that.
It's insignificant.
I'm just asking
That
if there's a trajectory here, and I doubt whether it's going to go any significance, but are you seeing, as everybody else is seeing from their dinner table to whatever, the effects of increased costs and stuff?
we've had on certain items, we've had some substantial increases due to shipping costs. But those have been, I mean, there's been other things that have been done to try to reduce those impacts. But I don't know that these are topics I'd love to share, but we're not on the agenda here. We're kind of off the agenda here.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Especially for consent.
Members of council have any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I appreciate a motion that we accept these consent calendar items.
So moved. Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, do we have any further discussion on the items? Hearing none, roll call vote, please. Abby?
Councilmember White? I'm voting no because I object to the eminent domain items coming up in the future. So I just want to vote no on that right now.
For clarification, there are no issues of eminent domain on this agenda.
Not on this agenda, but in approving the right-of-ways.
There's no,
You're just we want to really have a clear record. So you're not approving the right-of-way, the administrative acquisition agreements that are in front of you.
Yes. Thank you.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
Motion passes. Now, for item number 2 on the agenda, we have an opportunity for public comment. I believe tonight we have, if anyone in the audience would like to give any public comment, we'd be happy to hear you. I would appreciate it if you would fill out first a form at the back of the room. We have one commenter at this point, Mr. Calvin Freitas. And Mr. Freitas, if you would please give us your, if you could please let us know if you are a citizen of the city of Hayden.
I am a citizen of the city of Hayden. So I have 3 points to make related to the levy that's on the ballot for November 8th. The first point, the ballot language and the public notice for the law enforcement levy make it clear that this levy is a permanent increase that goes to the city's general fund. I understand that the ballot language says that the levy is for law enforcement, and I've heard multiple elected officials say that this money will go for law enforcement. So I do understand that. But what I would like to know from a legal perspective, is this levy written in such a way that citizens have a guarantee that this money will go to law enforcement funding in future years? Second point, I saw a note on the August 10th Citizen Task Force meeting notes related to what became this levy, saying something about Hayden Urban Renewal Agency. And there was some question that was raised there about that agency potentially getting more funding if the levy amount increases. I didn't understand what that question was implying, and I did not see that question answered in the task force minutes for their future meetings. So that's something that I would love to know the answer to as well. The third point that I have is that in the discussion related to the law enforcement levy, one of the things that I've heard the sheriff say on a few different occasions, related to why the levy is needed is the problem at certain properties like the what he calls the big box store on Honeysuckle, which is also known as Walmart. And I've noticed in doing a little bit of research that the Walmart property is in the Hayden Urban Renewal District. In 2021, if I'm reading the Treasurer website correctly, Walmart paid a total of $873.81 in property tax to the city of Hayden. So with all the discussion about paying our fair share, I'd love to know, how does the Hayden Urban Renewal Agency fit into this, and what are they doing to contribute? If Walmart pays over $79,000 per year to the Hayden Urban Renewal District, and only $873.81 to the city, yet Walmart's address, their specific property accounts for 20% of law enforcement calls in the city. This seems unbalanced to me. So I'd love to know how HURA is, what they're doing and how they're helping contribute to solving this problem of, need for increased law enforcement in the city of Hayden. And especially when we're asking citizens to take money out of their own pockets during a time of economic uncertainty and worsening economic indicators. Thank you.
And Mr. Freitas, just as a point of clarification, on the city's website, on the FAQs for this particular levy proposal, there is a section on the Hayden Urban Renewal Agency that you might be interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other?
I might offer, if Calvin, if you want to come talk, I can go through some of those questions as well, if you'd like.
That would be great. I'll schedule time with you.
Okay.
Do we have other comments tonight? All right, then. We'll move on to our new business. The new business is we have an upstairs remodel here in the City Hall. And I believe that, Mr. Boyer, are you?
Well, I can start, then Alan's department, they are handling things related to our buildings. But I would say, to Ed's point earlier, the costs of construction and other things, I think we've all seen increases. The idea of talking about an elevator has been talked about for a long time. Since I've been here, and council member mentioned it's been like 15 years. And so Alan may want to address this further, but it's one of these projects that it did come in higher than we expected. And we can talk about where we can pull it out of in the budget, but we're not in really in ADA compliance for this building, and so that was one of the main reasons. So maybe a little bit more detail. We put the design on here. It's really kind of I think it's a neat design. It'll change the hallway downstairs, and then people will be able to come in, go up, say if they're injured. We've had people that have been on crutches and wheelchairs, and if something like that happens, we end up having to have a meeting down here with folks because they can't go up our stairs. So we see this as a strongly needed project that we should do. And Alan, I probably took most of what, but I think reinforcing from upstairs, it was a joint effort with community development and public works, looking at and kind of coming up with a design that would work for all the employees up there. So go ahead.
I think you've hit most of it. We have we get estimates on what these projects cost from professionals, and at this point, they give us a cost and they say, but we don't know what prices are going to be. They're so volatile. They don't. And there's times when I can remember you could get a pretty good guess time and time again on what a project might cost, but we're not in those times. And so it's very difficult to budget for things that are that volatile. The project is important. We are in a position right now where we do not meet the Americans with Disability Act at this building. We have had situations where we've had employees who can't get to their offices upstairs. That puts us in a very liable position from that standpoint. We've had to have made special arrangements for individuals to come into the city because they can't negotiate the stairs. The American Disability Act's current position, I've been told, and I've never been in litigation, so on that, so I can only tell you what they share. And that is, if you are not in compliance, if you have $10, it has to go towards compliance, if that's in your budget, any place, before it goes anyplace else. And so their position, if we were to get, as I understand it, if we were to get any kind of complaint, would be that if you had money at any time, it needed to be spent on that improvement. And that's where I say I think it's a very, very important project. We got the bids. They're both very close to each other. They were tight bids, which tells me that it's probably a very good bid. If we had Brad, then there would be some question. And so we looked at, is there a way of repackaging this and trying to get it down? And in meeting with the architects up there just isn't anything in here to take out to make it significant enough change that would get us there. So Brett and I sat down, and Sandy, and we talked about where are we at? And I think we all agreed that it is a needed project. It's a good project. We believe the bids are good numbers. So then it's really, is there a way of funding it, and what is the council's, where are they at on this? So I know that Brett and Sandy sat down and looked at where maybe the money could come from, and that's in the memo. And so now I think it's kind of here, and we're here for question.
I'll start it off. Is this something that HERA could fund? Wow, I caught you guys speechless.
We hadn't thought of, it's possible we could look into that. We hadn't.
Is the city property in the district?
So a few years ago, there was some legislation that passed that basically restricted expenditures for town hall, for capital facilities. So I'd need to go back and look at that. I think early on we looked maybe and didn't think of that, but we could
I don't know, and maybe Councilman Broder remembers, it seems like if it's a public building like this, it actually had to go out to
Had to go to a vote of, to
vote
the
of
people.
the public in order to spend those monies on that facility, but that's, I can't say that for sure, that's just my first recall.
Roder, do you have any recollections along that line? Any?
Not in specifics enough to be able to make a comment. That's the problem, because
Me too.
the laws, they change every year. There's new changes to urban renewal laws. So I won't comment on it.
We can check that. I mean, where are we time-wise?
Catch everybody flat-footed here, but I'd appreciate if you could, and I'm not knocking the way that the proposed funding is, but perhaps it's something we could look at.
Yeah, again, recollection is for town halls, it was disallowed some years ago without a vote of the people. You can use it for public infrastructure, roads, sewer, water, those kind of things. If you wanted to, subject, we could perhaps, I mean, if there's a timing issue that that the bids will run out, I didn't look at the date to see when that is, but if they are, we could approve it conditioned on that her, can't fund this, and we could find that out pretty quickly.
Thank you very much.
I was going to mention, as far as the budget, what we were proposing is basically, we had looked at 500,000. We had counted on using, we had 200,000 in from last year and 300,000 budget this year. And that the estimate from the architect was about 500,000. So we thought we were okay. So we're a few $100,000 short in the capital side of our budget. So what we propose is basically take out of our savings account the one-time money, but it allows us to do it in our budget based on we have the ARP money in here that probably won't be spent. This is one of those projects that's important enough that I think we would have suggested if we needed the additional, 200,000 and the budget needed to be opened, that we do that and reopen it and come back. And so, but I don't think we'll have a problem, looking at how much is in here for this year's budget. The way it's set up, as long as we're not going over what is budgeted, we can expand, and we have a line item for this purpose.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember DePriest.
Yeah, thank you. So let me see if I'm hearing this correctly and understanding it. There was some discussion about, or related to the Public Works acquisition of Lakes Highway District and using the $213,000 difference from those funds. Is that, am I correct in that, or what's the status of that?
So the county has those agreements and they haven't signed them yet. So the end of the budget year came to an end and we didn't spend the first years. And so that's because they haven't signed it yet. And so the agreement allows us 12 months to make payment on that first payment. And then the second payment comes at a later time. And so we do have budgeted in here for this budget year to pay that one-time pay. So that's pretty much covered. So we can move, some numbers around. Ultimately, what we're saying is if there's a $200,000 increase, we're basically asking to take it out of the one-time money.
So one way or another, whether it's this fiscal year or next year, we would replenish the amount taken from the 400,000 when they do sign it, and we end up having to pay it next fiscal year, and those funds would come from our reserve account, our rainy day, basically.
That one-time money. And we would just we would budget in the subsequent year's budget, the next payment.
Right.
So I don't see an issue with the payment of the 400,000.
And I guess just to make sure everybody understands this, and I think Alan just said it, This isn't a beautification or let's get some frills and goodies at City Hall. This is basically a bare bones elevator for the most part to come into compliance with the ADA. And as you said, if there is a complaint or whatever it is, they can sometimes be punitive and that type of thing. So we want to get this done.
I think if there was a complaint, we'd be on the hook to get this done anyway, and probably there'd be a timeline set, and there may be financial ramifications.
Right. Okay. Anything else here? No, that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember White.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, how long have these ADA laws been in effect requiring an elevator?
It's been a long
Decades.
time.
Decades?
I don't
Okay.
remember, yeah.
Decades.
Okay. So I was just wondering why now? When it seems like we're, at the end of a fiscal year and we're trying to find money for other things, and that this needs to be done right now.
So this would come out of the FY '23's budget, so the new, because we started October 1.
Okay.
And I think, you've heard the reasons from our, it's been an issue before, I think. We've been here, when I got here, they were talking about doing it and saying we needed to do it based on people not able to get upstairs. And I think over the last 4 years, with increase in our savings account because of, increases in the sales tax and building monies that have come in, we have some money in our savings account that we can say, this is a project that we've been talking about for a long time, we should do it. And it does add, it makes it safer too, at least in my mind. If you look at how they have it set up, they're not spending a ton of money, but they're moving the 2 front offices, and you have a front door, and they're putting a meeting room out front. And so it keeps people from going to the back meeting room, and and so we look at that as a safety issue as well.
Councilmember Satter, I'm sorry,
I was
Councilmember
just
White.
going to say, I would like to suggest that we just put this off till November to vote on it, because we just got this in our packet on Friday, and yesterday was a holiday. So I would like more time to think about it and look at all the issues and just put this off till November, the November meeting, to vote on it. That's what I would like to do.
Councilmember Satterfield.
Thank you, Mayor. This issue has been going on ever since I've been on council, about 14, 15 years that I can remember. We've just been, just to be blunt, damn lucky, because our employees, city staff has accommodated anybody who couldn't get up there, but that is becoming more and more difficult, and it's simply not adequate. And I just can't believe we have not been taken to task for it. And if we are, and if we are sued, it's going to cost us far, far more than what the actual construction is going to be. And I'm just pleased we finally have a way of doing it, because it's been something we've discussed for many, many years. So, thank you.
Council President Roder, comments or questions?
Yes, please. Number one, is it too late to apply for grants, or did we look for grants for helping to pay for the elevator?
I'm not aware of any grants available for the elevator.
Okay, okay. You could call her attorney and get a quick answer, but that would be Pete Bredesen.
Pete Bredesen.
Bredesen, to find out whether or not her could
It's even looking at their map, it's questionable whether City Hall's even in the
Okay.
district.
That's what we were just looking at.
All right. Any idea what this will cost in maintenance? Because I know there's a maintenance fee that could be a little bit high for elevators. Any ideas on what we're looking at?
No, we are, it is just it just is a one-story elevator, so it's pretty minimalistic. It's not a high-speed elevator because we don't really need.
I just
that.
heard that.
Yeah.
But we have to do it, so that doesn't really matter. Now, what about, did we evaluate any other ADA issues with the building here, the city hall? Are we pretty much covered? And is this the only issue that we're aware of?
It's the only issue I'm aware of. We've done improvements in the bathrooms. We have the door openers. It's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay.
Councilman.
And do you think that this elevator should take care of our future needs for, as the laws require for ADA requirements?
Yeah, was put together by an architectural firm who are familiar with building ADA requirements, and so I have to, as far as I know, yes.
Okay, and I want to be clear on the money because I've heard two possibilities of funding, just so I'm clear on it. I think we need to do it. You can only kick the can down the road so many times before it becomes a real problem. But I've heard maybe one-time money, which would be ARPA money that we could use. And then I've heard also a delay in paying for our payment to the county or for the Lakes Highway District. Or is it going to be a combination of those two? In other words, where's the money initially going to come from?
That's a good question. And to clarify, so when I said use the ARPA money, so in the budget, there's $1.3 million of ARPA money in the capital fund that that it's unlikely that we're going to spend all that in this budget year. And so that frees up availability of total general fund dollar that could be attributed to this line item.
So if we approve this, then we would take money that we already have budgeted at 500,000, and then whatever ARPA money, then we will pay for that. We have the money for that.
Yeah, but just to be clear, we're not using the ARPA money for this. It's basically we had to put the ARPA money we're showing the ARPA money in the fund, and so it's parked there. And if it's not spent this year, then it's carryover as ARPA money. And whether or not we get the project done this budget year is questionable to use that 1.3 million. But it needed to be in there.
So I just want to, again, don't want to be repetitious here, but if we vote yes on this, I just want to know where the money is coming.
It's coming from our savings account, the one-time money is what I would say.
Which is ARPA money.
No, it's the money that we have. It's over the rainy day money. We talk about in the 4 to 5 million, the money that we've been able to save over the last 10 years.
Okay. I just want to be clear on
the savings money. Yeah.
Voting on it, knowing where the money comes from, for me, is kind of important.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Councilmember DePreez.
Yes, thank you. And I believe this was kind of brought up and asked earlier, and if you don't have, because I know a lot of contracts do have extra 30-day, whatever it is. Is there an expiration on the bid?
I would have to look at the contract, the standard contract language, municipal contract language typically is that the contractor is required to hold his bid open for 30 days.
And when do you have a rough estimate of, when did we get it? When is that date?
What day is that
I think it's
27th?
September 27th we opened.
So it'd be October 27th we'd have to award by,
Right,
if
okay,
that's the case.
sure. And what is,
Daisy left. That next meeting's the 15th.
That would be
so we have one more meeting before then type of thing?
that would be my guess, what's in there, because
Roughly.
that's the common,
Right, that's what I thought, 30
but I
days.
don't have the contract in front of me.
Sure,
Councilman.
sure, thank you. Yeah.
I have one more comment, and this is just, I told my wife that we had a light agenda tonight, and we were going to discuss this ADA thing, and you know what she said to me? She said, and she was quite ill, where she had difficulties getting around here this last year, and she said, I used to not be sensitive towards ADA issues because I wasn't an ADA, I didn't have a disability that I was concerned about. She said, but now I have a different perspective on it. So I think that in light of what we need to be concerned for our public and what the law says, I have a sensitivity, much more sensitivity about accommodating those with wheelchairs or blindness or whatever disability they may have. And so I think that's what the ADA law was designed for. And
Other comments or questions?
sure, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, so I'll make the motion that, that we award the City Hall 2022 remodel and elevator bid award to the lowest bidder, which is the National Native American Construction, Inc., for $713,000.
Mr. Roder, would you care to include in that, assuming that this is not eligible for payment by our urban renewal agency?
You can just add to inquire whether or not funds would be available to assist.
We can always ask.
So we can always ask HURA for money, and if it comes available, that works. If it doesn't, we can still continue with the funding that we have in place.
Second. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please, Abby.
Councilmember Satterfield?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
And Council President Roder?
Yes.
Motion passes. We now have the opportunity to listen to our city administrator, Mr. Brett Boyer, as he provides a city administrator report.
Just wanted to remind the public and everyone here, so Thursday is the Hayden Ramsey Road open house hearing from 4 to 7 on Thursday, this Thursday. And then Monday, so the upcoming Monday on the 17th is the Fall Association of Idaho Cities training event, and I think some of you signed up. And
Which day is that?
It's Monday the 17th. And that's at the Coeur d'Alene Resort at 9 a.m. And if you're not signed up and you're still interested, actually you can contact Abby and we can get you into that training. It's going to be on planning. They're going to do a planning exercise. So should be interesting. The city trunk or treat's coming up October 28th, Friday, and that's at 6 o'clock. Starts at 6 o'clock, 7:30 at Hayden Meadows Elementary. And we had tried to set that meeting for the standards, and we haven't forgot it. Donna is on vacation. We're waiting for her to come back because she's an integral part of the presentation so that we can get a date and then come back and continue to work on that.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
We did send out the memorandum outlining the standards, and so as we get ready for that workshop, if any of you have additional questions or there's information missing from that memo that you'd like to see, please let us know.
Administrator, we do not have a date for that.
We do not have a date yet. When Donna gets back, we were trying to find something that would work for everybody.
I have a question. Is that memo also available to the public?
No, we can make it available after the presentation.
So,
Because it's a work in progress, it's not a final work product. That's because we're inviting you guys to make comments on whether everything's in there that you want. So, I mean, of course, it's not a document that you couldn't make copies of and give to people that ask you questions.
okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
So that they can understand standards of review, just so they know it's not a static document. It's going to continue to evolve and change as we hear back from you and maybe have questions regarding that information.
Thank you.
So 2 meetings out, so to be November 8th is Election Day. That's a Tuesday night. That's our normal meeting here. And so we don't need an answer tonight, but I want you to think about whether or not we want to move it to like Wednesday the 9th, whether or not I think Donna has some things that are coming forward, so we may want to have it. But if anybody can't make a date right around there, let us know. And then at our next meeting, we'd like to make a proposal. You can email that to Abby, myself, and we'll look at those dates and
To reschedule.
to reschedule the regular meeting because we can't do it in here because there'll be people voting in here. So, yeah, that's November 8th. Just mentioned, the newsletter is at the printers, and I think Abby has a kind of a copy if somebody wants to see it tonight, that sent over. You could look at that
You mean the
after.
flyer or the newsletter?
No, newsletter.
Oh, yeah, okay, city.
Yeah, the city newsletter.
Okay.
And then the last item that I thought I'd just put on here is, we did put out, we were trying to get information up so people could get their questions answered. And so the FAQs are up on our website, and I think there's some good information. We tried to put everything on there that people had questions on. The type 1 and 2 crime statistics for the last 10 years are on there. There's information about HURA. We added statistical information that you had brought up. So the flyer is also attached there. So you can see the flyer. That's meant to basically direct people, because there's so much information. It's to direct people to the FAQs to get that information. So, and Abby was able to put one of those scanner things on there, so you can scan it, and it'll take you right there.
QR code.
QR code. Yeah.
The thingies.
Those things. You can tell. Or you can go to the website. Is information is on there, and other people can just type in the website to get there. So it's meant to be educational information. And if people still have questions, then feel free to call us as well, and we can talk with people. So I bring that up. Sandra had brought that up of whether or not she wanted any discussions. I had it's kind of in Word format, but I put the FAQs and the thing there in case we need to pull that up. But that's all I had for this evening.
I'd also like to remind everyone that we're going to have an informational meeting regarding that base levy on October 26th
Correct. Thank you.
at 6 PM.
That'll be the Wednesday night.
I have a couple of questions about the calendar. So on October 25th, is there an additional meeting on that day?
You mean like a workshop?
Yes.
So we had scheduled a workshop on the honeysuckle
Okay,
beach to start talking, to have the council kind of start brainstorming ideas and thoughts from that report that we received several months ago.
okay, so that's at 3:30 on October 25th?
Correct.
Okay. And then also I noticed on Thanksgiving Day, there's a meeting listed. Is that,
It'll be canceled.
that'll be canceled? Okay. I couldn't picture you coming here and celebrating
say, I don't-
Thanksgiving
I
here.
don't think anybody's going to be here.
Or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It'd be a great room for it, but. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Brett. I appreciate
Thank
it. Now I have an opportunity for roundtable discussion. Should anyone have anything they'd like to say? Mr. DePriest.
Well, let others go, because as usual, I have several items. Anybody else?
Well, I'd like to speak too, but
That's what I'm saying, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Mr.
go ahead, because I'm going to take a little bit, so go ahead.
Take a lot of time. Okay, let's see. Let me find my notes here. Okay. Well, yeah, I was just going to ask about the different calendar items. And I just wanted to ask a question about something I saw on social media. It was, someone had made a comment that the upcoming levy is just a one-time tax increase. So I need a statement on that.
It is not a one-time tax increase. It is a permanent tax increase.
Okay.
Good question.
All right, and then they went on to say, the only increase is the amount indicated. Any further increase would require another vote of the people. So,
That is also correct. I have also heard Councilmember White from folks that say, well, you've got inflation that's going to start bringing that up, and that is not the case. That same amount of money, regardless of inflation, will be used for law enforcement in out years. No inflation. The net effect of that, of course, is that over time, it's going to be less effective. But that's the answer.
Okay, so that's an untrue statement that it's a one-time increase.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
Councilmember Satterfield, do you have something?
Yeah, Brett, do you have somebody to answer this gentleman's questions after the meeting, or if he has time?
Calvin's?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he was going to schedule something.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All
we can
right,
get to-
great. I just want to make sure you get your answers. Regarding the sewer budget for the phase 2, overall, we're actually under budget slightly. And please keep in mind, we have a contingency because, as Alan's pointed out more than once, it's a tough one because you never know what the costs are going to be when they come in. They're subject to change. You say, well, okay, they bid it. Well, okay, they might have, but that doesn't lock it in stone. Give you an example how costs can go up quickly. The sludge that's hauled from the wastewater plant to Ritzville used to cost $500. That guy he no longer is in business. Now it costs $1,000. We're going out to bid, but as we all know, sludge can't just sit around forever. We got to move it. And I think I made a pun here. Didn't even realize it. And I think it's really a good thing that this levy increase that's going to be requested. I have to think, and I'm very happy that people get to decide if they want to pay more dollars. It's not a board, it's not a council, it's the people who get to decide because they're the people that live in the community. They should decide. So, let's see, I think, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satterfield. Council President Roder, do you have anything?
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it. Councilmember DePriest.
Okay, thank you. The public comment tonight, I'm also interested because I'd be very surprised if FER is able to contribute to salaries for law enforcement, but if that be the case, I'd like to know, so that's a good question. Let's kind of tail off on a couple things. Councilmember White brought up social media. In addition to maybe the comment she brought up, it is floating around on several social media and stuff claiming the city has $20 million for infrastructure, but none for law enforcement. What they neglect to indicate is that I believe it's like 95% of the little chart they put up there is all restricted funds. And that the two that they do have was one issue that was discussed earlier, the elevator, and the other, which kind of came into it, was the purchase of Lakes Highway District building as being general fund money. But, this is politics, and this is the way the game is played. People put stuff out there, selective information, that they depend on people not having access to alternative information or the complete facts. And, I hope that if others are receiving inquiries and the like, because I know I get a lot of them, people say, what is this? And I have to go through it again. Here it is, here it is, here it is, here it is, so that they can consider all of the information. I tell them to check what I say, as well as what everybody else says, type of thing. But I hope that all council members are endeavoring to get all of the true facts out to the people, because this misinformation stuff can really be damaging. So that's one issue. Something I'm going to do now. I was at the Coeur d'Alene Planning Commission hearing today. Before I came here, there's a big quarter development going over there. total of 1,050 acres eventually with roughly 4,500 homes. So they were having their hearing on it, and they went through some information, and I noticed that on all of their zoning, they attach a number to it, R8, C17, that type of thing. And let me get the right one here. This one maybe. And it brings me to, on August 16th, 2019, Coeur d'Alene held a Welcome to the Missing Middle Housing Forum. And they talked about, and I'm going to show you two brief clips of a Mr. Perez from Opticos, who is, I guess, a bigwig in the smart growth model, which apparently all cities have, for the most part, adopted. And he was selling it. And let me see if I can get to these, if I can negotiate to these things here. That might be a little bit. Let's try this one.
Could fit, where could fit in your area, and get out there, and we promote just leading tours yourself. You know your own town better than anybody, and go look at it, and go see what's working, what isn't.
Here we go.
And then stop using density as a term.
Stop using density as a term, okay? And this is, I mean, you can go to this website. This is about a 2 hour or so, and it's quite interesting. But he basically was telling the people how to sell this. In my observation and from watching it, how to sell it to the people. And one of them was that where he basically, and then he goes on to talk about when people hear density, how it affects their thought process and the like.
I think you guys covered it. Make sure that your comp plan points to your zoning regulations and doesn't have to say everything.
Be vague. Okay? Ranges of numbers so that the people, you know, and that there's wiggle room in there. Okay, and the like. And like I said, I didn't know that this was going to happen in Coeur d'Alene today. But I did notice when they're talking, they have specific R8, C17 and the like. There is no real ambiguity or vagueness to it. Okay, where am I going with this? As I brought up the request, just to revisit the standards, because we talked about the comp plan and the future land use map and everything, and as we're seeing things develop, getting an idea of the effect it's having, I would also like to ask if there is interest in the council to start off with the workshops and the like, and look at changing some of the code text again, I guess, as we did when we went from 20 to 12 to 15, but attaching a fixed number, single family, whatever, 5. Well, let's start off with residential suburban is 2 per acre, single family, max of 5, mixed residential, max of 8, mixed use, what it is. But to actually put that in there, codify it, okay, so that it does not create this ambiguity or vagueness, because it really disturbed me. And I remember seeing that. And to me, just personally, it's like I said, I watched and listened to it, and to me it was saying, here's how you fool people. Here's how you make, you don't use the term, he said, don't use multifamily because it triggers people's thoughts of density. Everything was to take people away from thinking, oh, that's a lot, and we don't want a lot, when in fact, it is a lot. Okay, so I'd like to ask if there's any interest in the council of having a workshop to start off with, shall we say, and consider, do we want to attach maximum numbers, as in, very similar to what Coeur d'Alene does, to our zones? And I think that's all of my.
Councilmember White?
Oh, are we responding to this? I guess, I know there are some local citizens who would be interested in this as well. They have some people I've known have commented on that idea as well.
Okay.
So, yes.
Council President Roder?
Ed, I'm glad you brought this up. I've been thinking about this, and I've actually had some discussions with citizens who are concerned about the 2040 comp plan. That kind of bottom line is they didn't feel like it represented the will of the people of Hayden. And it was very expensive. We relied on a lot of experts to put it together. There were comments and input taken from a range of folks. I think there was about 130 individual input that was put into, that were interviewed. Bottom line is, what I would like to see, the goal that I would like to have would be that we actually have a citizens task force that would look at the comp plan or the will of the people that would better reflect the will of the people in the comp plan. I don't feel like the comp plan does represent the will of the people of Hayden. That being said, I'd like to see that task force have the ability to send out a questionnaire to all the citizens of Hayden with specific questions about what do they want for the city of Hayden's future. And I know we send out a newsletter every quarter that the city pays for. Well, I think that we could afford to have a questionnaire to get specifics. With that data that could come in from the questionnaire, I think that I'd like to see us revisit some of the issues that Ed has brought up, but and I know it's difficult because I've heard the main objective or the main reason people do not want to deal with revising the comp plan is cost. You know, I've heard that. I've heard that it's got so many working pieces that if you do this, it affects this and this and this. And so we got to spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I'm not sure how we can get the will of the people, get their will into our comp plan and do it in a way that doesn't cost us $1 gazillion. It missed the mark, in my opinion. I voted for it. I was naive. It's the first time I ever went through a development of a comp plan, and I said, this is way beyond my head, so I got to rely on the experts. That was a mistake. You know, it's funny how in time you learn things, and that was a lesson. So if there was the will of the council, they'd be interested in doing a task force to revisit the comp plan based on what the will of the people would be, I would be all for that.
Would council agree with me that, I'm sorry, Councilmember White?
Yeah, I would like to comment that maybe in addition or in place of a task force, I would really enjoy workshops with the citizens that are concerned about the zoning and.
Would council be amenable to, I've heard a lot of ideas here tonight, would council be amenable to first having a workshop amongst ourselves to discuss which direction we might like to go, and then,
Yes.
then we can move at that point?
Absolutely.
Does that work for council?
Yes.
Process. We have a thought. Go ahead. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, well, we were talking about, I think that's probably a good place to start, is to have a workshop to kind of outline what you're thinking, because there's, task force survey standards, there's different things that we're hearing. What you were proposing was putting a set amount. I think discussing that in a workshop, and then kind of, understanding where we're at and understanding maybe some of the issues more, would be helpful before we just say, let's do a task force. Because I have no idea any parameters right now.
But workshop the idea of you designing some parameters for a task force, and what does your task force look like? Is it a cross-section of your community members? And where do you want to pull from? Do you want to utilize that with other sorts of citizen engagement? Because there's multiple formats for citizen engagement and feedback. And, you know, do you want to draw some parameters around how much engagement do you want? How much is enough and how much is not enough? Like, you guys can set those parameters of, we want multiple varieties of engagement and here's how we're going to get it. Who's going to do that work? Do you want to hire a consultant for that? So I think a workshop just to sort of set the structure of what you think this might look like in your vision going forward would be really useful.
I was going to mention the survey idea. So I went to my conference and I came back with information on doing a like a city survey and gathering, and found a couple companies and got some pricing and on what to do there, and maybe add in some more general stuff. Maybe not, you have some planning stuff in there, but find out priorities, things we're doing good, things we need to work on, stuff like that. So it could tie in with what you're talking about, because gathering information for me is usually where it starts, having the information to make a decision. So.
Well, and I think you guys talking even about, do you want to address or need to address every chapter? Like, have a good idea of what chapters you want to focus on and attack first, rather than just this open-ended comp plan, but really intentionally look at what's concerning you and where you'd like to start and put a plan in place.
When I was counting, I was trying to think when we approved it. I mean, we gather information, maybe we do some things. These comp plans, in 5 to 10 years, somewhere in there, you redo it anyways. I was just counting,
I was counting
4 years
earlier.
4 years. We're 4 years into this, and maybe you would look and see, what's going on, what's happening, and
This is the question, I guess, for Rhonda more, because I've thought about this a lot and it keeps coming up in my mind. Yes, at a period of time, who knows what the makeup will be. The council will again go through the process. The city will again go through the process of a 2060 comp plan and future land use map and things like that. So I know hypotheticals are okay, but let's just say come time next time, we're going, whoa, this place is so, we don't want to keep going this direction. We need to lower. Okay, and this is going to come to takings again. And this is where I've used the term our hands are tied and stuff like that. Because in a way, what I'm understanding, and I hope I'm wrong, is that if we make adjustments, not completely eliminating things, but if we reduce what the plan now says now, a few years they look at it and go, this is too much.
Not in the plan.
Well,
you don't suffer a risk of a takings by adjusting your plan.
Or your code text even.
It's your zone text.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
the difference.
Let's say it comes to that time and they're going, well, this is too much. And if it keeps going like this is absolutely going to be a zoo. And so the council in the city at the time said, we need to amend our text to reduce. Are we stuck where we are now? Or is that ability there because of the situation? Does that make sense? You understand what I'm asking you?
You need a legal memo on regulatory taking. I mean, I can't answer every hypothetical.
I know.
Right now, you are always at risk when you eliminate somebody's private property right.
But if you leave them reasonable value.
That's what I said, you need a legal memo
Yeah.
on it.
Right.
And I'm happy to provide that.
These are the types of things that I think would be excellent material for us to discuss. in a workshop.
100%.
So let's have that.
Yes, I really like this idea of workshop, and I would like it to just be the council at the beginning, not also the planning and zoning. I think if we're united in the direction we're going, then we could help direct them as well. Thank you.
I can see where, I'm just running through my mind, things that council has going on and other things we want to do. We may need to, I would suggest we schedule this soon.
Yes.
And we're going to need every bit of time we've got to try to make something happen if we want to go that direction. So,
If I may,
sure.
if I could bring up an agenda item for our next meeting, is I would like to add to our comp plan a financial aspect of it. In other words, there's a plan to get from here to here, but there's no way of saying, how are you going to pay for that? So I would like to bring forth a agenda item that we would vote on, having a financial plan that will be part of the current comp plan.
With respect, would that perhaps be better discussed just in a general, in our council general workshop as to how to approach that?
Yeah, I mean, for specifics, that's probably wise. I agree, yeah. But I want to get that done. That's why
I understand. Thanks.
I think that's part of the big picture here. If we have a workshop, and we may break it down into a couple different segments, one on whatever I just talked about, one on what the task force, one on the financial aspect of it, because I don't think any of these are going to be 15-minute discussions. And there's going to be a lot, I think there's going to be a lot of information and a lot of discussion, which is probably going to take a significant amount of time and number of workshops before we are able to narrow it down and say, okay, here's what's reasonable, and here's what and how we want to do it.
Okay, we will, as a council then, we will get a workshop together as soon as possible to address that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other items that we'd like to discuss at roundtable?
I love it. I love it.
May I have a motion for adjournment?
so moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming tonight, folks.
Get rid of coffee.
I'm just happy I didn't.